So that's something I can understand why not a lot of people want to stick to a proper bulk for a little while. And I'm not saying get super fat. I'm saying like, 15%, 17% body fat max, and just really make sure your lifts are nuts, you're eating enough fuel to recover and go on like that. Because for one, you're physically going to have a bigger midsection because you're going to have more food in your stomach. Dude, when especially on show day, or the 2 show days I did earlier in the year, waking up literally peeled and dry with a totally empty stomach. I felt if I did a vacuum, I'd be able to touch my spine through my stomach, just because there's no food in here, right? So you're bulking up, you got more food in your gut, and you're a little softer. So like any guy in the freaking world, where do we put our fat first? Stomach, sides, back, butt, some legs, but mainly right here in this center portion. The portion you want to be the trimmest to play into that size game, So I understand, but that's where if you ever do bulk up to a slightly higher body fat than normal and then cut back down properly, you'll understand and you'll start to see that it's all just part of the process. A bulk is no fun if you can't see the cut that lies beyond it. So I can understand the aversion. Lean is law, main gaining. But once your progress begins to dwindle and you're just staying exactly where you are, something needs to change. I'm not saying it has to be eating more food, but it's got to be something. I would not gain a single more pound of muscle if I only ate 2,000 calories a day indefinitely. I would gradually shrink down to a weight where that calorie number matches my body's energy expenditure. I'd be diced, but I would not grow any more muscle because I wouldn't have enough energy to facilitate that growth. A whale needs to eat this much krill every day. And if it doesn't, eventually it's going to start shrinking down and it'll just croak and starve, So every body weight, and this is body weight combined with total daily energy. Obviously, if a guy doesn't move around at all, he's not going to need to eat so much food. But every person, including their body weight, their muscle mass, their daily energy, and how much they work out or work out at all, that corresponds with a number of calories, their maintenance calories, right? So for me to stay exactly this size, big, strong, keep working out, recover, but not grow, maybe it's like 3,000. I could stay the same size, stay strong, keep having good workouts, but I wouldn't progress because I just wouldn't be giving myself enough fuel. You can't build a building without bricks and freaking, concrete and rebar. You need enough raw materials to facilitate it, and a lot of guys are, I see a lot of, I think half of all niche approaches, it's really, okay, people don't want to work out very hard. On average, would you agree that if you took a random person off the street and told them, hey, let's go hit a crazy leg day right now, they wouldn't want to do it, right? Working out's hard. Obviously, we value it because we like it, but for the most part, people wouldn't want to do it. They feel like it's a chore. So the sales tactic, if you're a guy who's trying to sell a program or a guy who's trying to do whatever, it's okay. You can work out without working out. You can get gains just by sitting at home. You don't have to diet. I'm seeing guys talk about a freaking sugar diet. That's getting a little traction right now. Right? Look, I've eaten my sweets, right? I've had my fair share of trash food, but I do not say that's like the best method, If my logic was I want to grow, I gotta eat food, right? Definitely not the best approach. I'm getting a bit more refined now after kind of going through it and learning a couple lessons about it. But it's like result. Everybody loves this part. Work, nobody likes this part, right? So that's where I'm looking at working out. It's just an objective thing. Lift hard, eat, recover, and keep going, right? And if that doesn't add up to progress, something in this side is wrong, right? It's not someone else's fault. It's not because you have to work out at Planet Fitness because it's the only gym you have in your town and nobody gets big at Planet Fitness. It's just the stimulus and your recovery. So I'm not saying that's going to work infinitely to becoming a 300-pounder dude. That's not what I'm saying here. But if you're 170 and you want to be 180, the same level of leanness, shit, man, the big dogs in the jungle eat the most, right? So I feel like out of anything you could change, a lot of times food intake is a pretty big factor, right? Regardless of training or anything else. So I'm, food is where it's at. That's my secret for the day. But I feel like a beast. Actually, no, right now I feel like I'm tired out, but I feel like a beast because I had a good lift. My shirt's totally drenched. This is nice. This is the fun feeling of legs. Sitting down, they're wrecked. I'm gonna feel it tomorrow. Very nice. I think there's a certain disconnect from sometimes things in your day which you have to do, and then the ones you get to do, right? You clock into something, you go to class, you go to whatever, okay, I have to do this. This is my work mode. And then you come home and it's like, okay, now it's time to just purely chill. And if you love your work, whatever that may be, then you're good, right? But I mean, you've only got a little bit of time free, per se, to work on stuff that's going to kind of compound in the long term. So I guess what I'm getting at now is if you're, let's say you're coming back from freshman year, and you can tell you may have been hit with a certain freshman 15, and not in a good, muscle kind of way. You might have to lock it in for next year, right? Or better yet, what am I talking about? Just start locking it in right now. That's a pretty classic gauge for, I guess you could almost say, somebody's self-responsibility. Just kind of keeping their own upkeep going. Because when you're at your parents' house, they're cooking for you. They're making all your food. Odds are, in high school, you're doing some sort of sport. Plus, you're just younger. You're more spry. Right? I'm not going to say you start slowing down, but you're definitely much more prone to put body fat on the older that you get compared to being a youngin', right? I mean, if my diet was exactly what I ate when I was like a 13-year-old dude, in like proper components, oosh. I mean, I've definitely destroyed a good number of croutons bags and Cheetos puffs family size in my day, and it got used as fuel, right? But now I probably wouldn't be so wild, so I guess we'll see. But all I'm trying to say there is, if you ever have any sort of lifestyle change, be it whatever you got, you're thinking about whatever it is right now, keep the weights in rotation, right? I'm not saying that the weights have to be the center of the universe that you are orbiting around, but let's say you're the sun. The gym better be a planet spinning around you in your routine, right? And not one of these like fake kind of Pluto planets where you're like, okay, well, it's not, no. I'm talking legit mass, something like a Mars, right? That's what I'm trying to get at here. So, because I'm not doing a crazy set of squats because I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna make my legs huge. I'm kind of putting myself into this different mentality where I'm like, okay, almost just trying to see what I'm really capable of, and just pushing myself to the limit intensity-wise during that set. And that also just happens to be, at least as far as I'm concerned, what's going to lead to bigger quads down the line as a result of that training. You know what I'm saying? So the gains follow the training, right? So if you really bring it, as will larger legs, as will a larger back, as will a bigger chest. It just it all sort of follows. And honestly, a lot of everything that comes about the training just follows suit, because if you lift crazy hard, you're going to be hungry. You're going to be tired. You're going to be thirsty. So you're going to sleep pretty good. You're going to drink a ton of water because you're thirsty, and you're going to eat more food because your body's telling yourself, like, dude, you just did some damage. You got to recover from this. You need energy from somewhere, So that's as much as I could say. It's like, oh, just eat more food. Just do more cardio. Just. I mean, if you told somebody to just really start bringing it, and their training intensity actually did gradually raise, a lot of these other things outside of the gym they'll just begin to happen. Like the guys who always say, it's like, oh, I don't worry about my diet, all right? I don't know, man, I don't worry. Odds are their training is just, at least at a certain level, where their appetite and their thirst and just, their ability to have a good night's rest, it's just there, and they're good. So assuming that's you, keep grinding, right? You're solid. But if you need to take a little more of an active approach to making sure you get your food in, or your water, or your sleep, that's just what you got to do. But you're missing that step in the middle, right? You want to go, you want to jump straight to step C, step, cut, all diced up and big, but you're skipping step B, the bulk, where you got to actually kind of beef up first so you have muscle to reveal, So if you can, I always try to look at things as objectively as possible, and then that'll usually give me a good idea on just, what do I have to do, right? So if it's the case that I'm not going to grow if I don't eat enough food, I'm not going to grow if I'm not consistent with my training and my sleep and my diet and everything else, then if I want to grow, that's just the steps I'm going to have to take. Whereas it's pretty easy to just show up, sleep, food, I got 50 grams of protein on average in this week on, 3 eggs is enough, and it's just not going to work, So if you know anybody who's just, oh man, I don't know why I'm not growing, I don't know why I'm not getting stronger, I don't know why I'm not getting leaner, there is an answer, right? This is not some quantum sort of thing where, you've got no idea to predict the end result. It's actually a pretty simple setup, body composition wise. And eat more food, grow, combine that with training, grow muscle. Eat too much food, start putting on too much body fat, and vice versa. And if you don't eat enough, you're not going to maintain the muscle you have. And if you eat way too little, well, then you're kind of start to shrink down. There's a lot of different angles to look at, right? But if those are the components that go into it, right? Training plus diet plus hydration plus recovery equals results over here. Make sure all these things are in order, and it's not even a mystery too. If you ask a kid, like literally an 8-year-old kid who's like, watch movies or anything, you can ask him, how do you build muscles? You say go to the gym, eat a lot of steak, or eat a lot of meat, eat a lot of protein, whatever. It's so classic, it's just knowledge everybody has. So just I'd say this, just try to stick to the basics, don't get too freaked out. We're definitely in a turning point era where the scrolling aspect of content consumption is it's getting pretty wild. So sometimes it's hard to decipher actual good intel, because it really is pretty much our main source of information and just data on anything we want to get into. So you can, I'd say your best bet is just find guys who you like the way they explain things, have actually gone through the process of doing it, and then don't just put your blinders on and listen to everything they say. Give yourself a little bit of time to decipher it and say, okay, is this guy lying to me? Is this guy just saying something because he's getting paid to say it, or things like that, right? You got to have a little bit of a defense as a information consumer, or else you're just going to be thinking a bunch of crazy ass nonsense. I'd say, what do you think? Social media, fitness wise, what amount of things that get said that has all been posted over the last year has been true versus has been silly? It's definitely not 50-50. It's probably leaning a little more towards the other side of things. So I guess the ball's in your court there. So make sure you get some good intel. But as long as you're one of the guys who's actually making progress, bulk diet, getting bigger, getting leaner, then you're good, right? Keep yourself moving, and as long as you've got some sort of direction that you're aiming towards, things will begin to just fall into place, right? It's never lifting wise, I'd say, maybe in the beginning when you really need to get into it, tell yourself you're motivated. Apart from that beginning situation, there is no make or break approach or make or break mentality. It's lift your weights, grow, eat, repeat, and enjoy, right? And that's the biggest part of this whole thing, just being alive. You want to do something you get to enjoy doing and get to look back on and be kind of proud of it, right? Be it school, work, lifting, any kind of hobby you've got. Just the more you try to have a good time, the better. That's a piece of advice I can say pretty much wholehearted. Right, we're on this search for perfection, but the perfect split, the perfect lift, the perfect movement, even, right? I have not seen one. Actually, no, that's not true. I've been seeing a lot of it. Everybody's freaking out about full body every day, full body every other day. I'll put a point in here. It doesn't really click for me for what my goals are, And I'm not saying this just because of like where I'm at now and what I'm doing, because obviously that situation doesn't exactly correlate, you know, to like a beginner lifter, nor do I think it should. But I mean, when I was starting out, I was doing regular ass push-pull legs. Actually, no, I was doing well, actually, I gotta go back and look, because I've got a lot of workouts written out in some of the Google Drives. Not workouts, but splits. And I mean, I've had some funky ones, you know. So everything twice a week. And I was like, okay, let's try to spread it out perfectly. Like I'm I'm watching a million different working out tutorial videos and muscular fiber and studies and stuff, because that, you know, I'm new to it and I want to learn how to do it, right? And I get to this point where I'm doing like quads and triceps and chest and I think chest and calves and like hamstrings and bi. Like I specifically spread it all out so that I have an even workload throughout the week, because an arm day is much less just physically demanding than a leg day is, you know. So that was kind of my approach. But looking back, I mean, apart from the fact that it made the training I was doing, you know, reasonably varied, so I got to, you know, do different stuff different days, and, you know, just keep working out and adding lifts to my repertoire, I wouldn't stress it, man. You know, I'm much more I don't want to say proud, but I value how much better I am at bringing it on a set-by-set basis, much more than I do, you know, knowing how to do different kind of fancy, like preacher curls or dumbbell curls or anything along those lines, right? Because the limiting factor I feel from the training isn't exactly what the training is, it's how hard you really go at it. You know, we're talking about 5 reps in reserve and failure, but it's not I mean, you're trying to tell me absolute muscular failure is something you just do like that? Nah, man, I mean, it's freaking hard, you know? So that's where I would say the guy who, this is not a situation where, you know, you want to be the dude who spend his whole day sharpening the axe versus the guy who's really chugging away, at least to a degree, right? Because, I mean, if you gave me just a set of X dumbbells and said, that's all you got, this is your bicep day, go to town, I'd be fine, right? I'd still be able to hit it because I would just make use of what I've got available. Whereas I feel like some guys, if they walked into it, you know, to do let's say a chest day or a leg day, and a lot of the leg equipment was taken, or maybe they wanted to start with leg extensions first, and, you know, somebody's on it, he's gonna be like, oh man, I'm screwed, I can't have a good lift. What I wanted to do was taken, now I'm, you know, my plan is in shambles. And you know, I don't want to be that guy, right? I don't want to come in and have to change my lift just based on the fact that I can't do dumbbell bench because everybody's on the benches or something. You know, just work around it and be, just try to be a little bit more adaptable, you know, because then anytime anything might happen, injury, tweak, gyms are packed, you got to go to a different gym, you're traveling, then you can work around it and you're still good, you know, because the last thing you want to do is throw off your game mentally. Right? Because if you believe you're going to have a trash lift before you even get to the gym, odds are you're kind of going to do a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in the situation. Whereas, I mean, you know, like imagine you're on a family trip or something, you're looking at the city you're going to be in, it's got a Planet Fitness. Let's say you're a die-hard Planet Fitness hater. You're going to say, oh God, fuck, I'm going to have the shittiest lift. And then, you know, you still go. It's like, what's the point of even putting yourself in that mindset? Because now you got to either undo it or you just end up dealing with it and you're going to have a trash lift. You know, so I would say the smarter, experienced lifter is the adaptable lifter. The guy who can make use of any situation he happens to find himself in and turn it around, put himself in the green and keep making progress. So, obviously, numbers are numbers, you know. It's much cooler to see a 180-pound dude rep 350 for 15 than it is to see Eddie Hall squat 400. For Eddie Hall, 400 is like 225, right? It's nothing. His strength is that nuts, you know. So it, you know, strength on its own, it's definitely more of a ratio of size to, you know, your ability to exert force. But I tell you something, it's a rare sight. Now, of course, this depends on the gyms you go to see any more than 4 plates moving for legit working sets. Deadlifts get a little funky. The deadlift has been, well, I wouldn't say bastardized, because from my perspective, I don't know. I'm not a deadlifter. The most I've ever deadlifted successfully was 405 in high school. Actually, that was pretty early. That was like year one, or within year one of working out. For one, with straps. I tried 450. I got it to my shins, but couldn't actually finish it. But that was the last time I tried it. I'm glad I can have an exit story from deadlifting that doesn't involve a herniated disc. I don't know what threw me off, but after that first time hitting it back then, I don't know, maybe I lost interest. I must have heard a bodybuilder or a lifter who I was watching at the time say that they didn't see the point and they'd rather do like chest supported stuff and lat work to widen their upper back. That must have been why. I probably didn't just stop doing it on my own. I must have heard it from someone else. But apart from that, which we've seen guys who are like 160 doing 7 plates sumo, where the plates only come a few inches off the ground. But that's not what I'm here to discuss. So seeing anywhere above 5 plates moving, even just above 4 plates, people are going to be looking. Not even necessarily to be impressed. Sometimes just as a spectacle, right? And there's two ways to look at it. I'm sure you've seen someone do 4 plates and you say, oh shit, all right, this guy knows what he's doing. And I'm sure you've also seen someone do 4 plates where you say, holy crap, I gotta see what happens here. I'm watching a guy park his car in front of a moving train. We've all seen that. But rarer still is to see 5 plates moving around. And this was something I really wish I got a picture of. So this is back in college. Me and my buddy Maverick. So he was beefing up. Now he's kind of trimmed down a bit more. But we were having what turned out to be a squat off, because at my school's gym, the squat racks were just 6 interconnected rogue racks in the center. So 2, 2, 2, right? 2 sets in a row. And then we both had 5 plates across from each other, and we were going back and forth warming up, and then we must have only done like 1 or 2 working sets. But still, that was, man, I wish I had a picture of that. It's definitely something to see that much steel move around. So that's the benefit of if you've ever been to a gym where its populace is, let's just say, abnormal, because it's a freaking motivating factor. Because as far as I'm concerned, that is the biggest benefit of being able to look at your phone and seeing the top 1% of anything, of fitness, of bodybuilding, powerlifting, of whatever sport or interest that you're in, because you can see where the bar really is. There's a certain small-mindedness if you're only comparing yourself to the people that are directly around you, who you get to interact with, because it could inadvertently maybe limit where you want to go. It's like that experiment where they put a bunch of fleas in a jar, or maybe it was like, I don't know, some kind of bug, and they put a lid on it, right? So now every time the flea jumps up, it realizes like, oh, this is the limit. This is as high as I can freaking jump. And then once you take the lid off, right, now there's no more limit. The thing can freaking go as high as it wants. It still doesn't jump out of the freaking jar, because it's been trained to only go this high. You know what I'm saying? So to see, videos of every kind of powerlifter, bodybuilder dude, or anything, and to see like, okay, this can be done. That's probably the most motivating thing I can think of, because the fact that somebody else managed to do something, it's not a guarantee that you'll be able to do it, but it's a guarantee it can be done. It's like how all of the 100-meter dash world records, or really any kind of world record for the most part, except for a few outliers, where it's like one dude who just had the craziest genetics or just craziest skill in the world, who like totally beat the odds of everybody else. But for the most part, if some records or limits are kind of at a standstill, it's like, oh, nobody's going to break the 10-second barrier, nobody's going to break the 9.5-second barrier, or anything like that. As soon as one person does it, as soon as one person manages to make it happen, now the approach from everyone else on whatever that thing is is it's no longer this unattainable, like, you know, never before seen capability or skill. It's something somebody did already. And if there's anything that's, you know, kind of a motivator to get people to do whatever it may be, it's to see somebody else do it first, right? If you, you know, you might not want to jump off your local lake's cliff into the, you know, into the water or something, but if you see somebody else do it before you, it's like, all right, he did it, he was okay. I guess it's all right, you know, like sort of little things like that, you know. So to look up to the guys who are taking it to the absolute extreme of effort, intensity, consistency, just, I mean, the guys I think who get the furthest in any kind of endeavor are just the ones who enjoy it the most. Those are great examples. And it's not because these, you know, it's not because somebody's an awesome dude, they've got the best value system in the world. But if you're looking at something as just a simple skill, performance kind of, you know, kind of perspective, the fact that someone was able to do it, the fact that guys can stick to a diet, the fact that guys can make insane body fat transformations and look completely unrecognizable from what they did a year ago, 2 years ago, I look at that and I say, all right, these guys did it. What's stopping me? You know? So that's kind of my point there. If it's been done before, it can be done again. And, you know, take it one step further, it can be outdone. Now that's a little trickier, of course, but I mean, you know, the bar's been set pretty high for fitness to the point where if you're a bit more of a lifter rather than like a full-on competitive bodybuilder, dude, bring it. You know, the idea of overtraining, of overdoing it, that's a situation that does not happen very often. You know, coming into the gym and hitting PPL or push-pull or the arm split or anything 6 days a week with a rest day, and you're eating your protein shakes and you're whatever, you're tracking your protein, that's not overdoing it. That is not even freaking close. You know, so I think there's always room to bring it at least a little bit more. So what's my biggest regret in life? I don't really have any yet. I feel like I've been going at a reasonable pace. You could definitely have a screw up. I mean, you can never not fumble the bag. So I'm not, you know, knock on wood that I don't do something that I am going to end up having as a biggest regret. But even like smaller things, like if you had something going on with somebody and then it gets messed up, or you like maybe you bombed a class, or like some random, or you got. I mean, usually my thought process is you're kind of crying over spilt milk. You know, I'm not going to say just forget about it, it doesn't matter. If you did something that you really kind of look back on, you're like, damn, why the hell did I do that? Or why did I let that happen? Or, you know, whatever. But that's what's making you now, right? So if you're grinding, let's say you've got an awesome routine, you're just basically satisfied with where you are in life, then anything that's bad that happened to you before, or any kind of rough patch you were in, that was just a necessary stepping stone, which has gotten you wherever you are, right? So if you presently feel good about where you are and how things are going, and you're just like generally happy about, you know, whatever the hell you're doing, then whatever bad happened to you before, that's just made you who you are now, you know. And if any of that stuff didn't happen, who's to say you would still be here, right? So it's just kind of a character building thing. So I try not to, I mean, I'm sure there were things that had happened to me before where in the moment I would feel like it was like life altering fucking whatever, but you know, you'll kind of figure out how to get past it, I guess. That's nice. And why I say that is because that's real failure, in the sense that, I mean, I'm trying to move that shit again, and it's just not gonna freaking happen. But that's on the heavier side. A heavy set, you can hit failure decently easy if you bring it, because it's over quick. So I think the time now is to move on to something a little lighter, squeezing, torturous, which for me, I think I have a little more trouble with, because instead of, you know, a 15-second burst, it could extend to a full minute, just freaking burnout. But that's what we want. So let me tell you a little something that, grinds my gears. Not for real, like, you know, just a touch. Yeah, so what I'm getting at is a lot of times anything pre-mainstream, it's kind of a hidden treasure, right, as it were. I think the gym was like that, you know, back in however long. I mean, honestly, if you're a more experienced viewer, right, let's say you're getting up there, you've been lifting since early 2000s, even back in the 90s, even in some of the 80s, right? I mean, I can see the demographic. There are some old Sam viewers who you guys are tuning in for some what I hope to be solid ass lifts, right? But it's changed, right? The gym used to be this I mean, it's like, were you training for something? You know, it wasn't just a thing. And I'm not talking out of freaking experience. I'm talking just from like, well, actually even a little, you know, when I was younger, back like, you know, 14, 12 or so. I mean, I've been going to the Y for ever since I can remember, ever since it opened. But it, you know, it used to be you just come up to the weight room when you're a kid just to freaking mess around, right? But now working out's it. Working out is freaking classic, right? Everybody's doing it, which is a good thing. But getting one step further, I'm talking about things that might hype you up to get lifting, right? I mean, I'm seeing Jujutsu Kaisen, right? Anybody in their 20s and below knows or has seen Gojo before, right? But where was that love back in, like, you know, the original Attack on Titan airing, right? I mean, I know there's characters out there watching Rock Lee edits where you were a freaking Naruto hater back in the day, right? But it's good to learn your ways, and that's something that always gets me going, watching I mean, really just kind of any kind of training motivational edit, you know, song, music video, whatever, because it's hitting you from multiple angles, you know, and allow me to explain. So I'm talking, if you've got just a badass song, that song's gonna get you going, right? If you've got some kind of just metal, electronic, kind of funky rap, something or other that's just hitting you in all the right places, that is going to get you amped. I know it gets me amped for, you know, whichever kind of wild sets I'm going for. So add one layer on top of that. That song might have been playing during like a scene from some movie where, you know, Rocky is dragging, what's he doing? Not dragging, but, you know, he's got that log over his shoulders. He's getting ready to fight Drago, or he's chasing the chick and he's just running around in the sweatsuit. Things like that, right? That's almost an extra level of motivation, because even just thinking about, you know, that kind of video, that gets me amped, you know? So it's just kind of connecting multiple dots, right? It's like having food from your hometown. It's just trying to click something in your mind, and it's definitely a temporary mental state to reach where shit's happening. You know, before I do a crazy set of squats, before I, you know, throw 150-pound dumbbells on my knees and get ready to actually rock them for whatever amount of reps, like, that's a certain state of mind that I do not get into very often. It's really just exclusively for the gym, you know, and it's just a certain, it's just like a certain sort of feeling, you know, because I think no good sets are done in the exact same mental state as just, you know, walking around like a regular dude, talking and joking around. That's why I do get kind of annoyed when I see guys working out and they're having a full-on conversation while they're doing a set. And I'm not talking like they're warming up, getting ready for whatever the workout might be. I'm talking like legit, they're doing a working set that counts for their arm day and talking at the same time. I'm like, you know, and that's a personal thing. That's obviously not objective, right? I mean, I've seen guys where they're on the phone with somebody for an entire workout and they hit their workout to whatever degree of intensity they wanted to do. So that's just me being a hater on this guy, right? But what I'm saying is, if you really want to bring it, like, you're not just lifting to lift, like, you want something out of it. You want to be a different lifter leaving the gym than you entered. With some of these real working sets, the ones where you got some heft and you got to kind of bring it, you should take a second. You know, I think you might overdo it if you're, you know, every time you come to the gym, even if you see your buddies around, if you just, you know, go totally silent, you're just, you know, I'm in the zone, bro. I don't make chit chat when I'm working out. Or like, you ever see that video of the guy doing hack squats, and then there's a group of kids around him laughing, and the guy stops his set and he's like, "Not in front of me, bro. Don't do that shit in front of me." You know, like, look, that's not something you need to do all the time. And frankly, if I was him, I probably would have just done the set and forgot about it. Or I would have had my headphones in. I wouldn't have even heard him goofing off, you know? So it's not necessarily something that you can, like, don't go around telling anybody, like, hey man, you gotta be more serious. Like, this is a self-propelled endeavor. But, you know, for you, take a few seconds, right? I mean, chat between sets, whatever. As long as it's within the time frame of like an actual rest period. But before I do a set, man, even if I was just chatting 3 seconds before, I need to sit and get my music playing and just kind of center yourself. Just take a couple breaths, get ready for it, because this is supposed to be, you know, 15, 20, if it's a lighter set, maybe even 30 seconds of you just bringing it like a beast. And that's not a freaking classic activity. That's not you getting up in the middle of the night to you know, get a drink of water and then walk back and pass out. This is a test. Honestly, when I think of the bodybuilding and the working out, the performance, like the competition, is on such a small scale as just one set. You know, now it's a lot of sets added up, but the battle is really a you against you, and more so kind of a your like conscious mind versus your physical mind and body. Because I want to reach a point where the only reason I can't do any more reps is due to a physical incapability. Like if I can't bench another rep of incline Smith, I don't want it to be because I said, ooh, it's a little too heavy, rack it. No, I want it to be because I physically cannot move it another inch, and I need to rack it or else I'm going to get crushed. You know, that's kind of the point I want to get to, and that's something to work on. Like the act of taking a set to real failure, that's a skill in and of itself, you know. So it's not like if you stop a set early or you know you could have got a few more, you're totally screwed, right? Just make sure you're bringing it. Looking at 3 questions, all the same. What got me into bodybuilding? I guess that's a little bit of a different question. What got me into bodybuilding? It's just kind of hand in hand with lifting weights and getting big. You know, because you wouldn't call someone who goes to the gym and just works out to be big a bodybuilder, because he might not compete in bodybuilding shows, right? But he is still building his body, right? So it kind of just goes hand in hand. Like I feel like I'm kind of in this middle ground of like still doing good in like the sphere of bodybuilding, of like, you know, actually getting big, dieting down, and now actually having some like competition history. But that's almost just a, I don't want to say a byproduct, of course, because it's its own thing. It definitely has its own challenges. But if you already love working out and you love making progress and you love getting bigger, then that's what the bodybuilding is. So it's like someone has a job that they love to do. It doesn't feel like work, right? So a lot of these guys, and when I see videos talking bodybuilding, it's like it's all about the discipline and the motivation, and it's definitely there. I mean, I'm not saying I don't have any challenges with, like, especially the dieting down and all the cardio and everything. Like that was definitely freaking tough. But with the regular just weights and like working out to make progress, like I'm not doing it because I'm like, okay, I need to do this workout to make this much progress so that I can step on stage next time I do. Like that's not exactly the point. The point is just because it's so much fun doing this part that there'd be no reason not to compete on top of it, just because it's kind of the fun part, you know. So it's a fish is gonna swim, right? That's kind of how I feel about the matter. Let me set the stage for you. Right, you wake up Saturday. You got a good night's rest, and you're carved up. You had some good meals. Like you didn't spend all night going to B-dubs, you know, eating a bunch of freaking wings, and you know you consumed a total of 250 grams of fats in one meal. Like, no, you're good. You had some pasta. You're ready. Right? New group chat pops up. Every one of your dogs from your gym, dude, we're all hitting chest at 1. Are you coming? You say, goddamn right I am. Get your pre-workout. You got your straps. You got your reps. You got everything in order. You got your bag ready. You gotta go nuts. Continental chest day. continental freaking chest day, you say. You walk into the gym, you head over to the bench section. There's no benches. There's no weights. There's no barbells. It's just a bunch of freaking chairs, man, in a circle. And then there's one chair left. Your buddies wave you over, like, come on, man, it's cool. Just come over here. Come. We just want to talk. You put your stuff down. It's like, what's going on here? What's the problem? And whoever the top dog lifter is of the group, because he wants what's best for you. He comes up and he stands up a little. Look, man, we're getting worried about you. We're getting really worried about you, and it's starting to affect our lives too. You never do your cardio. We always only see you come in here and do chest and arms. I haven't even seen you hit back for months. It's look, we want to hit legs. We want to come in and, like, dude, I'm trying to bulk. If I want to eat more, I need my 30 minutes of cardio so I can actually kind of up my metabolism. And you're putting us down, So now you've got a choice. You're starting to realize this isn't a joke. These guys are upset. You have overstepped your boundaries, and this could go one of two ways, right? A moment like this, a cardio intervention, could go one of two ways. You may realize your error. I think teary-eyed, I assume. You guys are right. You guys are right. Let's do some cardio, right? And that could be a game-changing moment. Your lifting trajectory could be permanently changed for the better. Or, you know what? Screw you guys. Cardio kills gains. I don't need to do legs. I always wear pants. And then you become that guy, and that could be it. And you might lose a whole group of friends in the process. So that's all I can say there, right? Plus, getting back to an actual, real kind of take. You really are missing out. So we can do just a couple minutes of cardio rant, and then on the drive back, I'll look up I'll make a little Q&A post and answer some sort of Q&A questions. But yeah, I can think of a few things off the top of my head where the price of 30 minutes a day, plus a small commute, or get a cardio bike at the house and then you're really good, is rewarded with, for one, better appetite, because you're going to be burning more calories during the daytime, so it'll be easier for you to eat more food because you're just a machine that's running through energy more effectively. A guy who just sits around at home all day and does nothing energy-wise, activity-wise, he's not going to need to eat a ton of food because his body isn't like this engine that's putting out massive power. He's just staying alive, right? Secondly, your endurance will get a massive boost. And by that, I'm talking about when you're coming in for a leg day, when you're coming in for a heavy chest day, or anything of the sort. Even if you don't really feel like you're a dude who ends up really huffing and puffing, if you've got better cardio, you're not going to need so long between sets of legs to be able to get back onto the squat rack or the leg press and hit a few more. And not only that, but the sets that you do, they'll improve as well, because if you've got a better ability to breathe and essentially re-oxygenate your freaking blood, you're going to be able to do sets that actually achieve failure anaerobically, right? So if I'm doing a set of squats, or if someone's doing a set of squats and their cardio is trash, they might have to stop the set before they've reached real muscular failure, because they're so out of breath they just can't even handle doing another one, So that's point number 2, boosted endurance. Point number 3, which is probably the one most people would actually maybe turn their heads around for, because it's kind of a classic idea, is just being leaner. And I'm not saying, oh, it's going to help you diet, like of course it is, but just your baseline level of leanness and body fat composition will decrease if you've got cardio consistently in your schedule, just because, like I said a second ago, you're burning more energy. You're actually pumping out calories, which are going to have to be replaced. And some guys will, the classic argument against cardio, especially in the off season, if you're trying to grow, is, well, it's already hard enough for me to eat. Why would I want to burn 300 calories if I'm just going to have to make up for that with 300 more calories of food. And to that I will say, look man, you're not a machine like that. It's not like obviously calories in, calories out, but to have gone through the process of burning those 300 calories extra during the daytime, I promise if you've ever gone into a real deep off season and you're actually trying to get bigger and continue to eat like legit meals, you're gonna see the ease of consumption begin to appear. And I really can't overstate that. AI is getting out of hand. This isn't even funny anymore, right? I mean, I'm seeing videos where guys are doing cardio, guys are hitting legs, guys are doing leg curls, leg extensions, pendulum, squats, you name it. I'm seeing it at an all-time high level. Can't be real. There's no freaking chance. If we can, this is one thing I am curious about. What do you think the real percentage? Not like, sometimes my knees, like the real percentage of actual legs that get hit, even just on a weekly basis, right, by regular, guys who would categorize themselves as lifters. If you're just somebody who has like a Y membership, or somebody like that, where they come in, they do some stuff and they roll, they're just getting their activity for the day. But I wouldn't call that the same thing. I'm talking about, you want to be legit, right? You care about how much you're moving, you care about your progress, but you don't care about the things below the waist. And I'm starting to, it's a force that is gaining traction and momentum, which is actually kind of freaking wild. I'm seeing videos full on like thousands of TikTok rants, car style like this, and it's, dude, you know what? Hitting legs is overrated, bro. You're wearing pants most of the time. It takes a ton of energy to recover from, and you know what? I almost want to say good, because then for us, for the guys who actually do hit legs, and can bust out a nasty set of squats or leg press or this, that, or the other. I don't want to say a set of leg curls. I don't think anyone's really looking to impress anyone by stacking the seated leg curl. Like, it doesn't have the coolness factor of a bench. Squats, even leg press too, they've still got a little bit of a just whoa factor. Leg curls, not so much. I wouldn't worry about the weight as much there. Right, but that's the logic. And you know what? It's kind of more of a the fooled is to blame, right? Not the fooler. So if you get fooled into skipping legs and then you become one of those guys, that's on you, right? You know what? That's not the fault of the guy who's telling you to skip legs. And frankly, I think it might go a few steps deeper, to the point where guys who actually do hit legs, like they're really thrashing them, they might be hating on legs publicly, while killing legs in private, to I guess you could kind of almost say just sort of deflate or dip the overall populace's leg activation, right? Because if you're somebody who loves hitting legs and you're kind of pride yourself on the fact that you're busting out of your 4-inch inseam shorts or whatever your whatever your style might be, or it's hard for you to find jeans, because if you find something that fits around your legs, it's like a 48 waist. This isn't supposed to be a Dave's or a Jared from Subway commercial where he's holding the pants like this wide. If you're that kind of guy, I guess if everybody else didn't do legs, it would just make you that much more impressive. So is that the secret, right? To kind of incept the idea that legs should be skipped to the so I guess we could call it gen pop, and then save the real leg gains for ourselves, so that we can really be a level above, right? That's like that's like the smartest kid in your class telling you that, the final exam, easy. No, you guys don't need to study. Don't worry. My older brother took this class. Don't sweat it. Easiest thing in the world. We all learned it. You're good. Don't even study. And then the overall grade average dips, but since he's at the peak, it just makes him even better. I don't think the gym. I don't think these fitness videos need to be so Machiavellian, but it's just something to consider. Look at me now, right? I've got a historical trend. Right? Legs gets much less love legs get much less love in these training clips because, I mean, most people hit them, you know, but you're here, so I know at least you're smacking your quads around to a reasonable degree. Were you always this driven with everything, or is it really just the bodybuilding? So since that's the last question, we can get rid of this thing. But yeah, not exactly, you know, I'm not like it's not like in every endeavor I ever get into, like, you know, school or freaking whatever, I'm just like sitting there grinding. Like I don't have a, I guess you could kind of call it like a competitive personality that extends to every aspect of anything that I do. But I think it's just that the working out just kind of hit a switch in me where that's like just my thing, right? In the sense that basically every, you know, square that I could check off about it that would make me want to work hard on it is checked off. Right? I like it. I'm kind of good at it. Like even just as a beginner, I was making pretty decent progress. And that's not something to just like take lightly, because obviously if you are kind of good at something, you do probably have a little bit of a tendency to want to get better at it, just because you can tell you have a little, it's like you've got a knack, right? So it's like you've just got a little bit of a aptitude for whatever that thing may be. So if I was already, you know, getting good at the lifting already, enjoyed it, didn't, you know, have anything else that I wanted to spend my time doing, like it's not like I had an after school schedule that was so grueling, like you know, like an AP student extracurricular kind of guy, where they're like, okay, band, track and field, school, after school studying. Like my schedule wasn't that packed. Like it wasn't packed like that. So if this is a thing I like to do, I'm good at doing, and has a very high skill ceiling in the sense that you can get better at it for a long time, and it's going to take a long time anyway, then I guess the last part of that square would be patience with it, right? Because it's not like I was working out year one thinking if I don't look like me where I'm at right now today, oh, it's not worth it. Like no, it's coming up on 7 years now, and I feel like my excitement about it has not changed. If anything, it's gotten better because now I've got a more detailed, like, you know, taste for what it is I like. You know, it's like if you ask somebody who was who's a coffee nut, he's got a bit of a deeper, more textured enjoyment for it because he's developed just more experience, right? He's got more knowledge, you know. So it's like a guy who likes pizza versus somebody who like that's their thing. They're making pizza. They got a pizza oven at their house. Like they know so much about it, and it's almost like that pursuit of like knowledge and experience about any given subject. If it's something they can really dive into, turns into this positive feedback loop where they just want to keep doing it, and the more they learn about it, the just more enjoyment they get. You know? So that's my thing with the working out, and that's why I always talk about having a thing, right? Because I think everyone should work out. I think if you're like a gym, if you're a lunk hater, and you're looking at guys who they're a full-on bodybuilder lifting a tank top at your Planet Fitness, and you're like, put that away. You know, if that's you, and you don't need this macho-ness, you're just trying to get your exercise in. Yes, I think that should everybody, no matter what you're into, you should have some kind of physical-based weight training going on, or at least cardio. Just because you are still this organic machine, you need exercise. If you've got a dog and he doesn't run around or play, you're going to say something's wrong with him. But when you look at you, or you look at someone you know, and they don't run around, they never break a sweat, they're never huffing and puffing because they're doing something physical, you don't think anything of it. You just think, oh yeah, he's not I don't want to sweat, right? That sucks. But on top of that, I think everybody should have a little something, or at least go back and forth between a few things, right? Dive into a hyperfixation, go down a YouTube rabbit hole about whatever it could be, and just try some shit, right? Because the worst thing that's going to happen is you try, you watch a bunch of fucking Rubik's Cube videos, and then later on, once you snap out of it, you're like, why the hell do I have this big ass box of like 7x7s? This is, yeah, right? But there's a very, I want to say endless amount of things that people can get into and have be their thing, right? I'm sure you know somebody who's like that. You know, I mean, everybody's got some kind of uncle somewhere who they have this massive train set in their basement, or they have this vintage car that they're constantly restoring, and maybe they're not even like creating, like they're not like a shop, they're not doing it to make money, they just, that's just what they like to do, you know. And I think having something like that is very valuable, because it just gives you another thing in your day to be excited about, right? A lot of guys, or a lot of just people in general, if you don't have things planned, or, you know, events, or like, oh, we're all gonna hang out here and we're all gonna do this, then your days can get a little monotonous, you know, and you're just doing the same stuff with seeing the same people, just, you know. But if you have your own thing to get into, then it can kind of break that, you know, monotony, because now, you know, you're going to bed and you're like, yeah, I did that, or you're waking up and you're like, yeah, okay, I know what I'm gonna do later today, you know, no matter what else is going on, right? And for me, the gym just happened to be that. So it's almost like I'm looking at it twofold. For one, I'm always going to work out no matter what, even if, like, in some alternate reality I lost the itch to, you know, like really kill it, I'd still want to be doing my cardio and just at least basic weights, just because I want to stay in shape, right? But beyond that, it's just a thing that I'd like to do, and I get enjoyment from kind of exerting myself during. So it's like, why wouldn't I, you know? So that's I don't want to say a calling, but it's not a bad way to look at it, you know. And the last thing you're going to want to do is not dive into something all the way, you know, with both feet, and just totally jump in and regret it later. Because, I mean, with the working out, I'm not saying you can never get in like awesome shape later on. Like if you start doing a fitness transformation at like 50 or 45, 40, whatever, but you know, there's a reason guys are going to talk about their prime when they were, you know, like 20 or, you know, 30 something or so, because you're only going to be relatively young during that, right? So if your thing was like, oh, you know, I really wanted to, you know, I wanted to see if I could get into bodybuilding, but I don't know, there wasn't any, I don't know if I'd be able to get anything out of it, or maybe it wouldn't be worth it, or, you know, like somebody was telling me I shouldn't go for it, and then, you know, you back off. Right, you get the firing pin set up, you're about to go for it, it fizzled out. I don't want to do that. I'd rather look back and think, man, I should not have done that, than, oh man, I wish I would have, right? Because there's no answer. There is no guarantee. There's no aspect of looking back with regret and being able to say, oh, well, you know, maybe it wouldn't have even worked out, who cares? Yeah, and if that's what you think, I feel like that ends up being kind of just a loser kind of mentality, right? Because just as much as hindsight is 20/20, hindsight about something that you think you could have gone after, there's nothing that's going to be able to scratch the itch. That's your thoughts thinking, okay, man, maybe if I would have went for it, it would have all worked out. Maybe things could be totally different, you know. So it's something where I take a lot of value when I see like older people being interviewed, and they're, you know, being asked, like, you know, what's the one thing you wish you could have changed, or what's the one thing you wish you did or you didn't do. And it's almost always like, you know, I always wanted to be an artist or a sculptor in college, but I just didn't get into it, or or just anything like that, right? And it's always, yeah, I wish I would have gone for it, you know. So that's where with the working out, that was the one thing that really kind of took me a level up, or a step above, because I like the diving. I was pretty good at the diving. I was diving in college for the first year, but you know, it was a thing I was doing. I didn't have that same like totally bring it kind of mentality about that as I do with the working out now. So if that answers your question, that's all I got for you. Right? I mean, guys were trying to diet down to 140 lean. I don't know. Now, if you are vertically challenged, I'm not trying to dog on you, but obviously, you know, that number is going to be different. But for the most part, you know, for anybody 5'7" and above, I probably wouldn't recommend you be 140 lean. I'd probably recommend you get a little bit bigger. Now, I'm not saying soft, right? I need to be a bit more careful with my words, because if I say bulk to 200, that might get taken as, you know, get as fat as possible to be 200 pounds. not at all what I mean, right? I'm saying reasonably, and it's going to take a little while, but it'll happen. Now, I'm not a main gaining hater. I did it for years, but eventually you reach a point where just, eating whatever you want, hitting your protein, of course, and training hard, it's not going to continue to give you any growth. At least not at any rate that's, I don't want to say perceivable, but almost acceptable, right? You want to make noticeable progress. I think you might want to change something if you're gaining a pound of muscle a year, right? And if you're not tracking your calories or eating enough food to do that, I think the diet's pretty much where it's at. That's a very instant game changer body composition size or body composition wise. You know what I'm saying? So I probably wouldn't say your training is off. I'd say your diet's off, man. Start grubbing. Get some treats. I'm not saying eat too many. It's going to mess with your gut and everything, but you can have some Ben and Jerry's once in a while. I'm not saying you need to only do like rice and chicken and broccoli. Because at the end of the day, if you can't eat enough food to grow, you're not gonna, right? And for there's a sweet spot, right? I'm not talking black or white. Like you need to be 300 pounds or you're worthless. That's not what I'm saying here. There is a number. Eventually, I'll hit that number where I'm gonna say, I've reached a size I like. This is big enough. Any bigger will probably not be worth it and take away from my enjoyment of this whole thing. I'm not there yet, but we're getting there, that's for sure. And then I'll want to stay that body weight, basically just lean and maintain it. And just get to enjoy the ascension to whatever size that ends up being. But it's so there's a point where you're like, okay, this is the sweet spot, right? But if you're not there yet, take some time. There's no rush. What's the rush, right? If working out is going to become your thing, in the sense that you just like to do it and you get to enjoy the process of it, I think deep in the hearts of any lifter, if they really enjoy working out and they are continually making progress, if you gave them a button that said, would you like to have your end game perfect physique, totally lean, instantly right now, the ethical and probably the moral answer is no, because the whole value of it is the fact that you worked for it. Now, of course, my statement on that might change if that situation ever actually happened and I did have that button, and it would be like an instant, peak build level thing. But we live in the real world, right? The value of it is that it took a little while, and not even that, but that you just got to enjoy the process. I mean, these lifts add up. I've done. We're coming up on, I think 7. Yeah, actually, right about now is probably the 7-year mark, ish. I might need I don't have a specific date. Like I don't remember the first time I went to the gym or anything. But yeah, it's coming up on 7 years of working out nearly daily. I do take rest days on occasion, a bit more now. I mean, it used to be like no exceptions. Now, if I can tell I need one, I do take one. But I mean, let's say 9. Yeah, I mean, twice a month would be a stretch. But how about we, just for math's sake, we'll just say 300 lifts a year. It was definitely more than that, probably like 350, but that gets a little trickier to calculate, right? Well, actually, no, not really. Let's just say 300. Let's just say 300 lifts a year, even just as a reference for someone with a more normal routine. You're not going to lift every day. Not that I think you have to. I just like it, so that's what I do. But let's say 300 a year, 7 years. That is going to put me at least, well, definitely past the 2,000 lift mark, probably closer to like 2,400 or so, but more than 2,000, right? If I took any one of those lifts out, right, I never did it. It completely disappeared from existence, Thanos snap style. Nothing would change, But if you start to add those up, then yeah, I'd be nowhere near where I am now, not only physically, but even just in my life. I'd be a totally different dude, I wouldn't be me, because everything that I've done so far has kind of accumulated into the position and guy that I am now, right? So it's not as though each lift is this massively significant, world. It's not like that, but they add up, and the enjoyment of doing it is where the value comes from. know, so just start clocking hours, right? It's going to add up. I mean, if you had like a random ass bank account or something, or did your parents have a swear jar, or just not even a swear jar, but just a big ass like glass thing that you filled up with coins just every time you had spare change, right? I know mine did. We eventually liquidated it, but this was like a 10-gallon jug, and it was full to the freaking top, like quarters and dimes and everything else. Do you think there was ever any noticeable change in that jar on a day-by-day basis? Not even a little. You'd have no freaking idea. But before you know it, holy crap, this thing is freaking full. There might be a couple hundred bucks in here, you know? So I think I've kind of lost track of what exactly I was saying, but it's a process. It's a living sort of back and forth kind of thing. There's ebbs and flows, there's peaks, valleys. You might not feel just as motivated as you ever have every day. It's all just part of it, you know? Sometimes it'll rain and sometimes it'll shine. We get the gist. So, in a more just direct to right now situation, I can go home feeling good. Cooked my lats, more pumped than I could have even asked for. I did it, right? On this 1 day scale, lifted, got my food done, cardio complete. Very nice. Right, so this thing that I'm working at, I basically hit my quota, and now I get to chill. At least, related to that. And then I can wake up tomorrow, hopefully very well rested, to do the same thing again. And that's the cool part. No matter what I have planned, or if I'm going to hang out with somebody or go do something fun or anything else, I've got at least an hour. Tomorrow's legs, so it might bleed into more like like an hour and a half of something that I just like to do. It's fun. I'm doing it for my own sake. Very nice. And I think that if you don't have something like that, you have got to find it, because you're missing out on days of enjoyment. And I definitely believe that wholeheartedly.